This is a Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino, and this week I'm joined by James and Miff as we cover all things Celtic. The weekend saw Callum McGregor and his teammates lift the Scottish Premiership trophy for the second successive season on a brilliant day at Celtic Park as the boys drew a line under the league campaign with a sparkling 5-0 win over Aberdeen. Miff, it was another special day for everyone associated with Celtic.
Hello Tino, hello James, hello listeners and viewers. It certainly was, and it was probably a much needed reminder of just how good we are coming into a crucial week, and probably seeing Alistair Johnston back playing was just, it was very visible how much calmer the defending was as a result of that. You know, Iwata then had somebody supporting him rather than try to kung fu kick him. But the overall performance was just one right for the first minute where they were at it. And you get that sometimes when you go to the games, you sit down, take your seat, and then you just see for the first few minutes, right, they're at it today. I felt like that very, very quickly, helped by the magnificent atmosphere that was created in the stadium pre-match.
I think Alistair Johnston set up Kyogo after about 2 minutes. You know the one I'm talking about? He just clipped it into the channel for him. And listen, not to knock 33-goal Kyogo, James, but he should probably have done better with the finish. You know, he ended up this kind of cross-come shot thing, but he should probably have stuck it away.
Yeah, but that's Kyogo's game. It's like, just put the balls in there. I'll take my chances when they come, you know. Just give me plenty of chances, I'll get you a couple of goals.
Yeah. Miff, you've referenced the atmosphere and, you know, all things around the stadium pre-match. What about that tifo?
Outstanding. However, I actually preferred the carnage it caused afterwards, where you had players, referees, assistants all running about trying to clear up the pitch. It was one of those ones where it was, as can happen at Celtic Park, sometimes you get that sort of swirling wind and it caused a bit of chaos, but that was absolutely magnificent. I mean, listen, you've almost become a bit expectant with those things now. I think we just know we're good at them, but to produce something like that, I just thought was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
it's quite spectacular, but it doesn't happen by magic. There's a whole lot of planning. It's weeks, if not months, in the planning, James, and it's real credit to North Curve and Tom Boyd, obviously, for his work. And if you've seen that, just loads of guys involved in that, and just the end result was spectacular. Miff, your Celtic moment of the week, please.
Well, I know I've already labelled a pre-match display in a tifo as my moment, so I wasn't going to go back there again in case I was accused of being a fanboy. But it would actually be Kyogo's first goal, because I was sat directly behind that goal, and it was an unerring finish. It was absolutely fantastic to watch. Sold me with his dummy as well, because I kind of swayed to my left, which would have been his right, and then just left peg, top corner finish. And lucky enough, that's the second week in a row I've been sat behind one of these finishes high into the net. Just, we're seeing a player at the peak of his powers. You know, no debate for me, best since Larsson, absolutely.
James, it's a class finish, isn't it? And it's Taylor does well, finds him in space. Kyogo's the kind of guy, he's a dream though, isn't he? Because he drops off the shoulder, he finds the space, and when everyone's expecting him to then pull a trigger with the right. So obviously we were at the game and that was great, but I didn't see it again until last night when I watched the highlights, and it's just that wee roll under the boot. It's just like, I tell you what, you can all go that way, because I'm getting back in here, and as a finish you've kind of come to expect as well. He likes that high finish.
Yeah, the way when it comes across, you know, from Taylor, he could let it go across his body. Most players would, and just leather that with your right, and you know, he'd have been well within his rights to have a go at it like that. But he thinks, well, actually, if I tuck this back in, the two Aberdeen defenders are just away out for a pie, and then it's on his left foot and he's high into the net.
He also has Hatate on for an easy square. He could literally just roll it to Hatate, but he lashes in with the left peg. Lovely.
Miff, as a run-of-the-mill, very average striker, I'd have let that run across my body and screwed it by the post with my right foot.
I believe you would.
He's gone and done everything else.
The Kano kids would have been in trouble.
They would have been. James, as agreed, you know, over the last few games, the results, once the league's been wrapped up, really don't matter in the bigger picture, but it was a really nice way to finish off the campaign, wasn't it, with the 5 goals?
Yeah, it was the kind of energy we got at the start of the campaign. You know, just shows you they've got it when it's important, and it was important on Saturday to get a big result. So, yeah, just everyone calm down.
Yeah. What about your own moment of the week?
I was torn between the guy who scaled the Merchant City pole for a selfie. If you haven't seen it, get yourself on Twitter. If we can, we'll put it in the show notes.
I hadn't seen it, and James just showed me. It's an absolute belter.
And then you get a picture of someone taking a picture of him taking the picture. It is brilliant. I was torn between that, and then there was a great one from the women's game yesterday. Liv Ferguson, I think we're 2 up at this point, and she just turns to one of the Rangers players and gives her a wee snide, sympathetic smile. It was beautiful.
Yeah, just a look. You'll have maybe seen the interesting information coming out. So Amy Gallagher, that plays for the women's team, great-granddaughter of Patsy Gallagher, so a real nice tie in there, and well done to girls, obviously 2-0 winners in the Women's Scottish Cup final at Hampden Park. Okay, let's take a look at what's coming up on this week's show. In this week's big topic, we take a leaf out of Ange's book and discuss the importance of enjoying the moments despite the ongoing speculation in a week where Celtic could land a world record 8th domestic treble. Then it's time for the Mystery Celt, where the boys will be doing their level best to name this week's ex-Celt. And then we'll close out the show, as always, with This Week in Celtic Media, where we once again dig out something that we think you'll enjoy from the world of Celtic Online. Okay, let's get started with the big topic. As we all know, by the time next week's show comes around, we could be sitting here with another treble in the trophy cabinet at Celtic Park. But, lingering doubt remains on whether Ange Postecoglou will then still be in place by the time next season comes around. Before we get into it, let's hear what the manager had to say after the final whistle on Saturday.
Champions again. We're champions again because of this incredible group of players. Champions again because of this unbelievable group of people working behind the scenes as staff. Outstanding. Champions again because of you. Champions again because I am a lucky man. And we got one more to go. We never stop.
Miff, I was preparing myself for Ange announcing his new 5-year deal after the game on Saturday, but it's an announcement that never came. What do you make of his words after the match?
I just think to be expected, or the sentiment to be expected. I wasn't necessarily expecting those exact words, but I thought he used the old champions again quite well. Obviously a wee dig at wee Mickey, but I don't think it was a place for him to come out and profess his undying love and the fact that he was going to stay forever. The reality is, he's not going to stay forever. I'm pretty relaxed about it. See, if he goes, he goes. He'll go the same way as the rest of them. If he doesn't want to be here, on you go. That's the way I view it. That might be coming across as aloof or harsh, but you know, I'm just not getting involved in this whole. I love him, probably more so than any other Celtic manager in my lifetime. But if it gets to that point where he takes us to a treble and then he wants to go to Spurs, hell mend them.
James, we've spoken in the past about when a player wants to go, you let them go. When it's time, whether it's Odsonne Edouard or Chris Ayer or whatever. I suppose the same should apply for a manager. If his head's away for whatever reason, you know, ambitions and boxes Ange wants to tick in his career, then Miff's right. Listen, he is roundly adored, certainly in this room, but, you know, by everybody. But if he's then got a foot out the door for whatever reason, then it's time to let go.
Yeah, once you've done everything sensible to make sure that he's got opportunities here and he's got reasons to stay here. You know, he's maybe on a lighter contract than he should be, you know, having come in from Japan. So you can maybe right or wrong there. I know his agent was in town this weekend. He was on the pitch as part of the celebrations. Now, that could be part of the discussions they're having with Michael Nicholson. And it might be Spurs are offering us 8 million. What you got him like 1.8. You know, I think Ange will be on 1.5 to 2. I'm guessing something like that. And if you make that 3 and he stays for another year and off he goes, fine. The Spurs thing, obviously, it's a strong link because of the director of football that's taken over there, the Aussie guy who's come in to kind of set them back on their way and knows Ange well. I think there's a shared agent. The agent's the same for both of them. But it doesn't make sense, particularly with Spurs not getting European football yesterday. Dortmund is a worry for me because they're in the Champions League and obviously they kind of blew it on Saturday. If a team like Dortmund comes in, I think we're in bother. A team like Spurs, not so much.
There's a lot to be said for that because everyone just, I suppose ourselves included in this part of the world, you just think vultures in the Premiership or the Premier League, circling. Actually, Ange's a global manager. You know, he could go to another country. I mean, he's done it in several continents. So yeah, you're right. If an opportunity comes around in Germany or Spain or wherever, he's got a bigger market available to him than most managers.
Imagine he's got a chance of winning the Bundesliga and breaking Bayern's stronghold there, you know. That's a real interest for someone like him.
One thing just to push back on what you said about Spurs not being in Europe being a reason why he wouldn't go, I think that's the reason why Ange would go. because he's a fixer. He's the kind of guy that goes into a club when it's broken. And listen, it's a tall order in the Premier League. It's obviously very competitive. And I think, listen, Ange came in when we were at our lowest ebb in modern times a couple of years ago and completely turned things around. And I think, you know, whether it was a Liverpool or a Man U or a Man City, they're not the kind of gigs that attract him at this moment in time. He wants to go in, put his own stamp on things and turn a club around.
The point I'd make about Spurs, if he has the same start at Spurs as he had at Celtic, he's out of job. That's just a fact. That's a fact that he's not going to get backed. Now, that may ward them off that just now. I think he's got unfinished business. I think he'll stay. But again, I'm past that point of, you know, I love him. I want him to stay. I am in no way ushering him out the door. Let me make that absolutely clear. But I'm not going to spend my summer panicking about him leaving. It's got to be that if he wants to leave, he'll leave. And the exact same sentiment goes with that as it would do a player like you referenced, Tino. We've been here before. I think that's what's kind of hardened me up a bit was that season. Is we all were so desperate that summer grinty COVID season that we wanted Eddie to stay and we wanted Christie to stay and we wanted Dyer to stay. And look what it got us. We can't be begging people to stay, and that includes the manager. Yeah. If he wants to be here, and he wants to improve us, and he wants to take us further in Europe, brilliant. He'll be invested in that, and you'll see he is being backed. The board are working with him, but I take James's point around how Ange himself is remunerated. If we can do something there, it makes sense. It would also mean that we can maybe up the compensation that we would get if he was going to go. We could put a clause in around that so that we protect that for another season, and then he eventually goes. You know, I think Ange has found a home in Celtic, and there's a lot that fits. I just don't think he'll be in any rush to get away from that. But then, if Spurs or Dortmund come with really, really silly money, then, you know, that he's only human.
He's an intelligent guy, though, isn't he? So he's, whatever decision he makes, whatever his next move is, he's not going to rush into it. And there's a lot to be said, Miff, as you've pointed out there, that he seems happy with his lot in Scotland and in Glasgow. His family seems settled here. His kids are at school, all that kind of stuff. And it won't just be about money for Ange. He doesn't seem that kind of guy. Listen, he's well paid. He's obviously picking up a decent salary. But I think the chat when Brendan Rodgers left was he was on best part of $2 million at Celtic and he gets offered 8. How can you not? How can you not take that? It's just, short career and all that kind of stuff. You need to look out for your family. So at some point, that may play its part. But I think James Ange will take his time. And I always go back to your stance on it. He's still got a couple of boxes to tick at Celtic. There's still a chance there for him. And the fact that we've got this Champions League group stage guaranteed, I just think he wants that at least one last bite at it into next season.
That's it for me. If he can go treble this season, strong Champions League next season, 3 in a row, if he sets us up for all that, then I think he'll probably consider that, what more can I achieve here, given the budget constraints of a Celtic versus, a Dortmund or a Spurs or whatever kind of thing. So I think that's when it becomes more academic. You can see all the reasons for it, but it might just be an emotional decision. He wants to play, big football for big teams and big leagues. Yeah,
but if you mentioned the madness of the Premier League and the fact that Ange had a really sketchy first half dozen games or so at Celtic, and you don't get that time down south. They pull the trigger really sharp. I remember reading it, and it might have changed now, but the season just past there has seen the most sackings ever in Premier League history. I think there was 13 or 14, including 2 at Chelsea and various different things. But it did remind me of you lads seen the Paddy Power advert doing the rounds.
Brilliant.
Oh, right. We're not getting paid for this and all that stuff, but I have to highlight it. Have you seen it? Basically, they're showing a kind of, what do you call that? A
preview.
Aye, before the season started, they're having a kind of brainstorm. Right, what can we do to make the Premier League exciting again? I need some ideas, guys. And one guy's like, let's get Big Sam back. And he's like, don't be so stupid. What about Roy Hodgson, get him back? Oh, come on now, you're just being ridiculous. I've got an idea. What about Chelsea sack Lampard? Sorry, Everton sack Lampard and ends up at Chelsea. And it's all these ludicrous things that have happened, including Liverpool beating Man United 7-0 and so many different things. But it's funny because it's true. It is mad down there, and Ange could take that leap of faith to end up in the Premier League, and in a couple of months he could be gone, and he'll be thinking carefully about that.
I don't think you get fired in Spurs in 2 months because they're such a box of frogs. I think you get a free hit for a year.
Get Gino a phone and ask him. See, the thing is, the ethos that Ange works with the players that he's developed so far, because they've all kind of had a point to prove to get to a next level. You get into that Spurs dressing room, they're already at the rainbow.
Ego.
They don't need to hear about life quotes about
They've made it.
how they can go and improve themselves. Just look at Mourinho trying to get through to Dele Alli as an example. Mourinho, one of the greatest ever, to a talent who should have been one of the best of his generation, probably was for a season and a half. Brick wall. Absolute brick wall. Not interested. I'm getting my money. Give me all the inspirational chat you want. Now, somebody with the power of personality that Ange's got, I think he would just be able to force through and mould his own squad. I mean, geez, you would have a field day with that Spurs squad. Aye. You would just have an absolute field day. And there is a slightly kind of small part of me would love to see him just get him and absolutely rip it up and telling folk to bolt left, right and centre. But my point being, I'm not exactly convinced how that style would mesh with the problems that Spurs have just now. So it goes back to that point, he would probably need 2, possibly 3 transfer windows to be able to sort it.
At least.
Where he is now, Champions League football, his squad, the promise of more to come in, I dare say targets identified, exits more or less agreed by now. Do
you want to give the listeners your tip that you heard? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Touch on it now. So
completely nonsense rumours that I've heard are Abada, Areola and Starfelt being away, McCarthy as well being the obvious one, but with Abada he's not keen to go because he wants another crack at Champions League. That's what I've heard. Absolute nonsense. Please don't do mentions on Twitter or any nonsense like that. So I think the bottom line is, when it comes to Ange, I just don't think he'll go the now. However, there's no doubt just now there's conversations going on in the background. I think it would be naive to think that hasn't been happening in probably the past 6 to 8 months. But with the game coming up Saturday, I think that's where his focus will be. I think that's why there's not been any chat about, I'm not leaving, any stuff like that. I think it's all down to just complete focus on Saturday, because that's how he operates. He'll demand that for the players, so he'll demand that from himself, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Spot on. It's my very next question, so I'll put it to you, James. Is he doing the right thing either way by focusing solely on Saturday's game? It's a great point, Miff. He can't expect the players to be 100% on it if he's distracted in any way, shape or form. And if he were to leave, if that's what the decision is, it'd be a mad time to announce it in the run-up to what could be a world record-breaking treble.
If he were to leave, aye, but if he were to stay, would that not galvanise the players and give them a boost?
Maybe.
There's that. And you've seen the celebrations in the correct way. Ange's letting it be all about the players. He's standing just off to the side so that the focus is on them. So he obviously wants that, focus within the squad. But if he was banging in a 5-year deal, then I don't think it's a negative thing. But maybe those discussions are just properly getting started with the agent coming into town this week and stuff like that.
If you were the PR guy at Celtic and Ange was signing a new deal 3, 4, 5 years, when do you think would be the optimal time to announce it? Would it have been on Saturday after the game? Would it be on Saturday night after the cup final? Should it be Monday morning of next week? When do you think would be the time to call that?
I'm not a fan of manager deals post Scottish Cup finals. They've not worked out for us in the past. So I'd rather not any dressing room shenanigans there. Monday morning maybe, something like that. When's the deadline day for the season tickets that week?
Nice timing. I mean, I've got a feeling we'll hear something one way or another within 24 hours, 48 hours of the cup final. And I suppose in the interim, if it is the right message to send out, that all focus, all eyes are on what we do at Hampden.
I think that's the way it's got to be. If you look at it, if you're being absolutely brutally honest with yourself, if it was positive news, you would have announced it probably this week. If it's negative news, you would wait till after the final. That's the most likely path it'll take. But as James says, there's probably logistical reasons as to why they've not announced it. If the agents just come in and there's been nothing agreed, it's maybe not something that they've felt they've had to agree, because there's not been a danger of him leaving until very recently. Spurs have went after about 3 or 4 previous targets. The board have probably felt quite relaxed around it, and then all of a sudden, all and sundry have knocked the job back. Glenn Hoddle, Harry Redknapp, they're running out of options. All of a sudden they want to come up and take Ange. So I've got a feeling Rodgers will end up there before Ange.
So
that's my feeling. I think that's the most logical thing. But But listen, we'll just wait and see. I'm just trying to concentrate the weekend. I'm not trying to give too much thought, because like James said before we came on air, I'm actually in quite a good mood.
Fair enough, and I don't want to ruin that match. So just before we move on, then gut feeling, is Ange staying or going?
James?
Staying.
I think he's staying.
I think he's staying as well. What's all the panic? What are we even talking about this for?
There you go. Next subject.
Well, that was a good 15 minutes and on.
We'll find out soon enough.
Some decent part in there.
All things Ange put to the side, so Celtic now have a chance in just a few days' time to set a world record for domestic trebles. We've currently won 7 domestic trebles, so just to name the years: 67 and 69 under Jock Stein, 2001 under Martin O'Neill, 17-18 under Brendan Rodgers, 19 and 20 under Lenny, and 2023 to be confirmed. James, up until a few years ago, we'd won just 1 treble in your lifetime, 2001. We've now won 5 in your lifetime, 7 overall, and Saturday could be number 8. And 135 odd years of Celtic, these are very unique times, aren't they?
Been saying it all season. It's a real special time to be a Celtic fan, and none more so than right now, with the football we're playing, with the manager we've got, with how galvanised the whole club is, including the support. It's beautiful times to be a Celtic fan, and if we can get things over the line on Saturday, again, no mention of it in the media. World record treble, no mention of it at all.
You need to dig quite hard to see that, don't you? Obviously, we and various other Celtic media have broadcast it at different times, but it seems to be the big kind of hush-hush.
Don't need to dig hard for a load of tutting about, a couple of crisp packets left in Strongate.
Bear in mind,
I waded through some of those crisp packets. There was plenty of them.
It's all gone now.
Yeah.
bear in mind, the lack of treble was the particular stick which Ronnie Dyler was beaten with, despite winning doubles. So it seems to be picking and choosing as to when it's relevant and not.
Yeah. If Callum McGregor, he would become an individual record breaker with 5 trebles under his belt if we do manage to get across the line on Saturday. What an achievement that would be.
It would be, but you know how nervy it makes me to predict glory before it's actually here. Let's wait, keep that for the post-match show. I'm boys, we're now on the week of the game, and you know what that means for Miffs Bills. They're starting to churn. They're starting to churn, right? So let's just all this talk. Ange is away, and we're going to win a treble. Let's just get ourselves down the road. Good news. Tickets for me and the boys.
Good.
You got your
2 weeks prediction all sorted already? Extra time pennies?
Aye. Billy Dodds to come on, scored a winner for Inverness Cali. Me going up the road greeting. Wayne's greeting. Oh no!
James, as I said, we're a number of days out from a record-breaking cup final. Miff doesn't know what to talk about on a Celtic podcast. You want to discuss?
Time for a new job.
You watch Succession yet?
Boys have been going on about that. I don't watch TV series.
Oh, it's good TV. It's a bit of a segue, but it's good. Good stuff.
What the boys are talking about.
Miff, before we can look at breaking records, there's obviously the small matter of Inverness Cali Thistle and what they can potentially do to spoil the party. What do you think about the challenge we'll face from them? Obviously, fairly run-of-the-mill season from them, apart from reaching this final. They finished 6th in the Championship, although they only missed the playoffs by a couple of points. It was all very tight there. Very experienced manager in Billy Dodds, who you mentioned, and he'd like nothing better than to get one over in Celtic. I had a wee look through their squad before coming on here, and there's only a couple of names that I even recognise, and that's maybe more on me, but Billy Mackay, the striker, very experienced and good frontman, and Aaron Doran in midfield, who's been there pretty much his whole career. What do you think about what we might face? Celtic overwhelming favourites, and rightfully so, but complacency is a dangerous thing.
I would imagine the shape the game will take is Celtic come out, start quick. Cali will look to frustrate, but I would point to the Kilmarnock game that we played in the semi-final is just a potential warning sign of, if we go into the game maybe slightly off the pace. We made a bit of a hash of that Kilmarnock game. If you
there was no football to be played, but the weather,
the pitch
that's
weather,
totally different
things
for
like
Saturday.
But look, Billy Dodds is equally as horrible as McInnes. So what I'm saying is that ability to spoil is ingrained within both of them. Now, I cannot stand Dodds, could never stand him. And Cali have caused me a headache a couple of times through my Celtic supporting career. The combination of Dodds and Inverness Cali Thistles just making me slightly uneasy. Right? I know. I can hear the listeners going, see that wee rocket, he just sits there, he's so pessimistic. But I'm just saying, for me, that's the reason not to be too overconfident. The team have to come out, start quick, get an early goal, let everybody settle. Mainly me.
James, speaking of not getting overconfident, so the referee in the day has been confirmed as John Beaton.
Oh, they've got their big guns out, Miff. Wait to hear this.
On VAR, they've got Stephen McLean.
There's surnames for first names everywhere.
James, rumours that linesman will be Jim McDonald from Coronation Street with Broxy Bear as fourth official, as yet unconfirmed. But could that have any bearing on the day?
I think Beaton will allow physicality that he shouldn't. There's VAR in this, isn't there? Surely.
It's got potential to be VAR, that.
Right. But Beaton will let a lot go. They'll come out to be physical because that's the only way they can level it. I think we can handle that. But yeah, the referees can play their part here for sure. That's my biggest worry, is these things generally are, because if Celtic, who've won a double in Scotland, including the Premier League, can't beat the sixth place team in the Championship, then maybe we shouldn't be worrying about Ange going at all.
I don't get it.
If he can't beat Cali Thistle, then he's not the manager we thought he was.
Aye, if all things are fair and equal, absolutely. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about AJ's prognosis. Is he fit?
Don't know. So obviously Alistair
right.
Johnson limped off with, 15-20 minutes to go, something like that. I'm hoping it was just a precaution. It was
wasn't hobbling or anything after like Kyogo was. That's the danger.
Kyogo was limping around a wee bit. We'll get to those lads in just a wee second. James, in terms of ticketing, the latest reports are that Cali Thistle have actually handed back some tickets now, and there's going to be less than 6,000 of their fans in the stadium, which would mean well over 40,000 Celtic fans, probably 43, 44 amongst the, I think it's 51,000 capacity at Hampden Park. That's going to be an incredible atmosphere in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's got to have a big beer, and it becomes like a home game, so they'll enjoy that.
Yeah. Matthew, you were talking about the boys who might and might not be available, and I suppose Kyogo's the big one, isn't it? 33 goals for the season, 27 in the league, picking up all the awards going, absolutely flying, and it would be such a fitting end to his season as well as everyone else's if he could go and get another couple of goals at Hampden. It
certainly would, and very deserving. He deserves to be the star of the show for the work that he's put in, and I hope he goes and earns that in the day. Kyogo is just such a unique player. I think he could play in the wing. I think he could play in midfield. He's just got the lot. I just love watching him play, and it's so good being at the games and watching his movement and watching how many runs he makes in a game. It's phenomenal.
It's a really interesting one. See his Calmax lining up his shot where Kyogo gets the second goal. Before Calmax really getting in a line for his shot, Kyogo's going, I know where that ball might go, and he's already away. His anticipation is just ridiculous.
Such a clever footballer. I don't know if you lads seen the report, I think it was last week or the week before, it was doing the rounds about AZ Alkmaar amongst other clubs doing intelligence tests on players, like young players,
yes.
Kids coming through at academy level. It's really fascinating, to be honest with you. And
that's a tough one.
Well, it's
Jamesy Forrest. Bless him.
That's harsh.
Easy.
That's what
easy. What is it we're using Forrest, by the way? I'm not having this.
I said nothing, Muff. Anyway, just to give you this scenario. So basically, they test boys in their academy levels to see where they're at in terms of football intelligence. So ask, questions about perceptions and what might happen and probabilities. And basically, it's a model that's now ran for 10 years in Alkmaar, and it's now proven. They've got players who have now played at top levels, sold for big money, and there seems to be something real in it. But I was just going to say, Kyogo very much fits the bill of an intelligent, talented guy, fast, pacey, all that kind of stuff, skillful, but intelligent with everything he does.
Just on the Alkmaar thing, I think Queen's Park have brought somebody in.
Yes.
That was from
Dutch
Alkmaar,
guy,
and
exactly.
Alkmaar's success rate of academy is much higher than the average percentage of any Dutch team.
They've just won the UEFA Youth League. They hammered Barcelona 3-0. They beat Madrid 4-0 and various other teams to go and lift that trophy. There's something in it.
Aye.
I would like to withdraw my James Forrest comments. Football intelligence is a world of its own, and you can have all the football intelligence in the world without being academically intelligent. And I don't think James lacks that. So
fair enough. You've covered yourself there.
I was pretty hard with that. I was pretty hard.
In case James's lawyers listening.
I know. James.
if it is academic, then I maintain it.
Yeah. Anyway, the win over Aberdeen, obviously getting the 5 goals. It lifts confidence, James. It's always good to be scoring a few goals, particularly getting into a cup final. Just to clock the record as well, it was 114 league goals for the season, a new post-war record. So the Lisbon Lions scored 111 goals in their 66-67 season. I'll need to check. We'll need to go back through the recordings ourselves. But we called it in an episode, didn't we, as to what we thought we'd all land on. I think Paddy said 120, Matthew 106, various things.
We'll check that. When you started talking about goals records, that's for James and Paddy.
We'll check that back to see who's the wrongest. Miff, we're doing the big match preview on the Celtic Exchange Plus later in the week, and until then, as you've requested, how's your own confidence and excitement levels? Do you want to keep your powder dry for the preview, or how are you feeling?
Very nervous. Very, just because it's the magnitude and taking the two boys to the game. Do you know, that's where my nervousness comes from, is for the boys. It's more than that myself. You know, had I been going there myself, I'd just turn up, get steaming and sing.
You've got those two entitled kids that have barely seen Celtic lose, haven't you?
Don't see there he goes. There he goes. He's just playing on that. He knows how to just prod away in there. Yes, I have. Yes, they expect a day out. They expect a party. They expect a flag, a hat, a badge, a scarf, bag of chips, can of Fanta. They expect a lot.
And I hope you have a magic day. James, your final comments on this before we move on from this section.
It looks like it's going to be a lovely day. You know, the sun's going to be shining. Hampden set up for a treble, so just relax through the week, enjoy the day.
Relax, Smith. Yep, it's been a brilliant season so far. Scottish Premiership, League Cup already in the bag, but as Ange said on Saturday, we've still got one more to go. So let's hope for another very special day at Hampden Park on Saturday.